What's up guys? This video I'm going over the best paddles of 2023. This has been the biggest year of paddle releases in pickleball history. We will talk about why each paddle made this list and why they're in their respective place out of 5. You can use discount code BRIONASPB at checkout to save some money and to support the channel. Let's get into it. Quick disclaimer, these paddles are in the order of my preference. Any of these paddles are an amazing option and I could play with any of them in a tournament tomorrow and feel totally comfortable. But there are obviously ones I prefer over others.
Number 5.
With that said, taking the 5th spot on our list is the Ronbus NOVA R3. Coming in at $180, this paddle can do no wrong. It gives you plenty of power for drives and serves, you can be aggressive, and win plenty of free points while shaking and baking. When hitting the ball hard, you can feel the face stiffen up and give you a nice crisp feel. But when you want to play some defense or play the soft game, it's almost like a completely different paddle. When slowing the play down, you can feel the face soften and can notice the ball pocketing inside the sweet spot much more, giving you a plush, soft feeling. These two different feelings off the face of the paddle is due to Ronbus's new Gen 3 air permeable edge grid technology that is purposely supposed to stiffen up and soften the feel of the paddle dependent on the shot that you hit. This bugged me at first as I was trying to get used to playing with it, but once I got it, it was tons of fun to use and I played some great pickleball with it. This paddle has ample spin in the 1800 RPM range, which is plenty for any shot. This paddle is catered towards someone who wants an amazing blend of plush feeling control shots and stiff aggressive ones. For someone that likes thermoform paddles but has a hard time hitting resets and dinking with them. This came in 5th because it didn't quite have the pop and power that I was looking for when being aggressive and countering at the net.
Number 4.
It was hard deciding whether to put the Carbon 1X or 3X in 4th, but after playing both of these paddles more extensively, I decided the 1X had more to offer. The 1X was one of the very first thermoform paddles to come to the market, and it's incredible to see that it still holds up compared to other paddles that followed throughout the entire year. This is one of my favorite feeling paddles out there right now, even with the $230 price tag. It has a consistent and firm yet responsive feel no matter the shot. This is one of the few paddles out there where I feel like lead tape isn't needed, and I give that credit to its high swing weight of 123. But with that extra swing weight, I really had to focus on anticipating speed ups from the other team because my hand speed is a little bit slower with that higher swing weight. But I love playing with this paddle. It allows your more aggressive strokes to be weapons. The drives and serves I hit with this paddle are just nasty and are easily my favorite shot when playing with this. When playing the soft game though, dinks feel fantastic, allowing me to relax and to play better. The reason why it isn't higher on this list is for 2 reasons. First, it doesn't have the spin numbers as the top 3 paddles in this list do. The 1X doesn't have bad spin at 1720 RPMs, but it has definitely fallen behind in that category. Then secondly, it isn't as forgiving as it could be. The sweet spot is large, but it isn't known for absorbing pace very well. This paddle is for the player that has their soft game under control and wants some more tools in their bag to be aggressive and end the points earlier.
Number 3.
Trying to decide the order of these 3 paddles in the top 3 took me way longer than I thought it would. All these paddles in my mind are basically tied for first, but there are just extremely minimal things that separate them from each other. So with that said, coming in 3rd place is the Engage Pursuit MX 6.0 with a $270 price tag. I don't think I've ever been so shocked by a paddle before. I didn't think I was going to like it at all. This paddle isn't even thermoformed, but definitely has the pop and power of one. This thing hits like a truck. It has exceptional pop and power. Anytime someone sped the ball up at me, I welcomed it because my first volley with this paddle is a rocket and typically ends the point right there. And because it isn't thermoformed, it absolutely has a Gen 1 type of feeling when hitting drops, thirds, and resets. The dwell time on this paddle feels so similar to an original carbon paddle or even the Electra Model E. It feels like a control paddle when hitting finesse shots, and it's so addicting. To my surprise, I didn't even think about adding lead tape to it. It has great stability and a solid twist weight. The only thing that kind of got to me was that it didn't have that solid feeling frame that a thermoform paddle has. Not saying that the shots didn't feel solid, but that the construction of the paddle feels slightly subpar compared to the construction of thermoform paddles. But this was also the reason why it felt so soft. So it's a give and take kind of thing. That is such a nitpicky thing for me to say, but that is the only thing that I could think of that wasn't to my liking about this paddle. And that is ultimately why I ended up in the 3rd spot. This is one of the few paddles I could see an absolute beginner use and a pro player on tour use and have an amazing experience. It has all the forgiveness of a 1st gen paddle and enough pop and power to keep up with the pros. This is an absolutely amazing paddle for anyone at any skill level.
Number 2.
The Gearbox Pro Power might be the craziest paddle that I've ever played with and will probably be the paddle of the year for lots of paddle reviewers. It is literally an experience to play with it. The sheer amount of power and pop you get compared to anything else on the market right now is bonkers. I still laugh out loud when I pick this up after playing with other paddles during warm-up because it's that insane. I can swing at 60% with this paddle and it still comes off harder than a full drive from almost any other paddle. This is the poppiest paddle in the game, and playing against someone using this paddle is almost scary because of how fast the ball gets on top of you. I am now winning a significantly more amount of hands battles than before. The pop and power of this paddle is truly insane, and it's an experience that is unlike anything else. With serves and drives, I have never hit them harder in my life than with this paddle. Because of the new SST core that Gearbox made for this paddle, it allows you to have access to this kind of pop and power, but feel oh so soft and nice when hitting control shots. This paddle's core feels like it adapts to every single shot that you throw at it, almost like it has a force multiplier on it. The harder you hit it, the harder it comes off of the face. The softer you hit, the less the face of the paddle reacts. I have never really felt like my paddle was an extra teammate on the court before playing with this one. But the Achilles heel of this paddle, and the reason why it isn't my number 1 pick, is the sweet spot size and how it could be temperamental when hitting returns and resets. The sweet spot isn't anything special, but has the best of any Gearbox paddle. And compared to something like the new Engage Pursuit or even the Carbon 1X, it feels kind of small in comparison. But the biggest issue when hitting a reset or any defensive shot with this is that you have to be so careful, because if you hit it slightly too hard, the face of the paddle will react and launch the ball for an easy put away. You can absolutely learn to control this with lots of playtime, but I have to focus more when playing defense with this paddle than most. I would not recommend this paddle for a beginner though. This is for the player that has a firm grasp on all the fundamentals of the game. This paddle is for the player that wants to hit harder than they ever have before and win more hands battles than ever before while still having touch at the kitchen line.
Number 1.
Coming in at first place is the 6-0 Double Black Diamond. Most of you probably aren't surprised because this has been my go-to paddle since the first time I've ever played with it. I have never used a paddle that does everything I want so exceptionally. It has fantastic pop and power, it has insane spin, and has helped me develop new shots in my arsenal because of it. Once I started playing with this paddle, I saw my skill level increase more than it ever had with any other paddle. With its hybrid shape towards the top, it makes the sweet spot bigger than I could ever want it. It has such a sturdy feeling off the face, but still gets great dwell time, giving me lots of feedback into my hand and arm. I can't think of a single weakness that this paddle has. I mean, the handle length could be a bit longer, but it still doesn't give me any problems with my two-handed backhand. I'm still shocked every time I go and play at a public court and not see this paddle everywhere. This got the number 1 spot because it's phenomenal in every scenario. It's even lasted the longest out of any other thermoform paddle that I've played with for an extended period of time. My very first Double Black Diamond I used for almost 5 months straight, playing 10 to 15 hours a week of hard competitive pickleball. 6-0 could easily charge a premium price tag of $250 and I would still play with it. But they don't, and it's still priced at $180 retail. This paddle beat out the Gearbox because of its ability to play insane defense and keep me in points longer. This paddle is for the intermediate to advanced player that wants a paddle that doesn't have a weakness and to excel at everything you want it to do. I once again want to reiterate that all of these paddles are an awesome option. You just have to pick the one that you feel like is going to suit your game the best. If you feel like one of these paddles are for you, then make sure to remember to use discount code BRIONASPB at checkout to save some money on the purchase and to help support the channel. If you want to see the full review of any of these paddles, look in the description below. But there you guys have it. That is my top 5 paddles of the year. Let us know what your top 5 paddles are in the comments. And that is it for today. I will see you guys on the next video.